time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It's a special Tuesday night edition of the Ron and Brian podcast, episode 268. Joined as always by my friend Brian. Brian, you look different this week. You look more mature. You look like a man who has equity. You look like a property owner, Brian. There's no other way to put it.
Yes. I look like a property owner who is currently been banished to the second floor, where my laptop is currently resting on a large wardrobe-sized Home Depot box. My laptop over here is sitting on two large Home Depot boxes, which are empty. I have I would say I have about maybe 3 square feet to operate in for this episode. But I'm going to tell you something. The lighting up here is wonderful. The acoustics. This is what I'm paying for. You know, when I said, to my homeowners association, what am I getting per month? What am I getting? What is it about? They're like, acoustics. New York City apartments, subways. You just got so much environmental noise. Police cars, ambulances, crazy people, homeless. I mean, there's just the sound of urine splashing across
refrigerated trucks. I mean,
exactly.
All those noises that you get when you live in one of the 5 boroughs.
You get it, Ron. You get it. So now I have elevated from the New York City apartment life, and I just feel more sophisticated.
And where are you located? What state do you now reside in?
I'm in the great state of New Jersey.
Disappointing many people out there. After you said repeatedly you would never move to New Jersey, have had many unkind things to say about New Jersey, and yet now you are a New Jersey resident. Defend yourself.
Well, first off, is the entire story of my life disappointing those around me, those immediately close? That is the story.
It is. Yeah. To be perfect.
Second of all, if people, if the loving fans of this show are going to think that my official residence being located within the state of New Jersey is going to have any impact on me trashing the entire state. The smell of industrial waste as soon as I was getting off the ferry here in Weehawken, that's right. Oh, did I mention that I took a ferry to get to work today? I took a boat, Ron. No more subways. No more subways for me. I don't go underground. If I'm not at least 30 feet above sea level, I'm not going to work. This is the lap of luxury. This is the way it is. Also, I did check with the local town registrar, and he did confirm to me that Bill Cosby does not own any property anywhere near me. So I feel quite comfortable that I made a good decision purchasing in this area.
Nice.
All right. Well, we'll get into your new locale a little bit more later on, I am sure. But in the meantime, let's kick things off here like we always do with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the Week.
Sláinte.
Pause.
Drink of the Week. Drink of the Week. Drink of the
Brian,
Week.
hopefully you unpacked your beer fridge in enough time to bring something for Drink of the Week. What is it?
Oh, Ron, when I reached out and announced that I was living in the great state of New Jersey, the amount of local breweries that just showered me with amazing options. The fine folks over at Asbury Brewing said, listen, Brian, we want you to be our podcaster of the week. You are the champ. Therefore, we want you to know that we are Asbury Park Brewing. Ron, Jersey Strong, featuring some of the finest hops and malts from such faraway, lovely, idyllic places such as Irvington, Camden, and Patterson. You're looking at Asbury Park Brewery Blonde. It's a European pale ale lager. Comes in at 4.9 ABV with a score from Beer Advocate of a very pleasant 81. It's a light-bodied European-style lager featuring Czech and German hops, all joking aside, which create a delicate high note resulting from the lagering process. This, once again, is Asbury Park Brewery's Blonde Lager.
Take a sip. That's a new brewery to the podcast. I'd be curious to hear what you think of their lager.
A little bitter.
A quizzical look on your face.
It's a little bitter. There's definitely a bitter finish that I normally would not go back for. However, it's delightful, and I purchased 4, and I will be drinking all 4. Ron,
yes,
what are you drinking tonight?
So a staple around this part, as you know, is based out of King of Prussia, Workhouse Brewing Company, bringing another one of their beers to the table. This is their Par Punch Juicy Ale, I guess intended for when you play golf. The can is actually designed like a golf ball. It's actually even, you can actually feel the little divots on the can. Brian, this is what they call a juicy ale. It's a tropical punch aromas mixed with a blend of citrus juices, mango, and pineapple. The fruit juice nose is backed by a smooth body composed of Pilsner and wheat malts, resulting in a juicy, sweet flavor without being cloying. They refer to this as juicy, tropical, and our favorite word, crushable. There it is, clocking in at 5%.
Ooh.
Not bad. I don't know that
not
it's citrus. It's citrusy. I'll give them that. Well, it's no, not really citrusy. It's more crisp than anything else. I would say it's crushable.
But aren't you supposed to be getting quite a bit of a fruity flavor?
I mean, it said I should get. Well, I guess it just says the tropical punch aromas, but you should get some citrus, mango, pineapple. Not quite feeling that.
Wasn't tropical punch a drink when we were kids?
I mean, Hawaiian.
What am I thinking? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Hawaiian punch. That was actually considered an acceptable beverage to provide to your children back. I mean, it was just sickeningly sweet. I can't even imagine what it was.
I'd be curious, like, how does Hawaiian punch sugar level match up to like soda? You know, the stuff that we were told not to drink. We'll have Matt work. Matt, can you? Yeah, Matt. Pull those numbers up. So Matt will get back to that, get back to us on that. In the meantime, Brian.
Hold on. Before you jump ahead, I do want to just remind you something. And I think a lot of people don't give you the amount of credit that you deserve. The fact that you and your wife, Mrs. Ron, opened up your doors to Matt Beaker, super duper producer of this podcast. The fact that you opened up your doors to him allowed him to move on to the 3rd floor of your house after he got kicked out of the halfway house. It just speaks volumes to the character. You know, one of the things I remember last time I was down there, Mrs. Ron, she looked at me and she said, listen, you know, you can never give somebody too many second chances. And I just sat there and I realized that she is an angel amongst the devils on this planet. And speaking of the devils, New Jersey Devils, let's get that cup this year. All joking aside, but Mrs. Ron, wonderful angel. Look forward to seeing her.
Without a doubt. All right. Well, then let's keep it moving with Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
Oh, Ron. You know, you would think that a week where I moved my significant other from one state to another, a week where I had to notify a state agency that that my address was now no longer in New York, where I have lived for over 20 years, but now I'm in New Jersey. You would think that something along those lines would be the biggest outrage that I had, but it
One would
is not.
imagine.
It is not. You would think that I am living out of boxes. That would be a frustration. Nope, not the biggest issue I have. The fact that this morning I struggled to find my deodorant. I did find it. Well, before
Good, good.
Janelle accuses me of it, did find my deodorant. But the biggest issue I had is with fansidea.com.
Oh, is that the? Oh, that's where we got. That's where I got this delightful Ron and
Yeah.
Brian hockey jersey with my
Yep.
name and
Yep.
number on the back. If we need a reminder.
Yep.
Yeah. What's the? I love that company. I don't know what
You
your
love
issue
you
is.
love Fans Idea. Okay, so you see, I reached out to Fans Idea right afterwards, and I said, "Hey, listen, my podcast partner, my life mate, he was so happy with the hockey jersey that you guys were able to provide him. I would like one as well, but with my name on it." So I
Yeah,
said to
makes
them,
sense.
"Hey, where is my Ron and
Well,
Brian hockey jersey?"
looks good. Like the logo.
Ron, I sent you a couple pictures
Yeah.
earlier. Do you have them lined up to show?
I can hold on a moment.
Did you think I sent them to you for shits and giggles?
I mean, sometimes I think that.
Okay. So while you're pulling them up, I'm going to walk through this story. So, they were very excited when I reached out. They were like, wait a second, you're Brian? I said, yes. They said, you are the champion of the podcast. I said, obviously, my reputation precedes me. They seemed so excited. They were like, listen, we have the red and a black hockey jersey that we provided Ron. It was such a, stellar reception when he featured it on the show, that suddenly I said, you know what? Yes, I want you to treat me just as well, if not better, as you treated Ron. And I noticed that when I opened up the package, when it came in the mail, first off, no red stripe.
It is
There's
missing
no,
the
this is,
stripe.
this is,
I will give you that much.
I do have a red stripe on the side, which I assume you have.
On the sleeve, yes. In fact,
Okay, so we got the
here's a
same.
good. Yeah, I don't see what the issue is. I mean, that looks you look pretty good there. You look triumphant right there.
It's a nice size hockey jersey. Ron, what happens when I turn around, Ron? What's on the back of that jersey?
Oh, you want the back one shown? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you just wanted the front one.
Yeah, this
shown.
is my beef. This is my beef.
All right, there you go. I mean, it looks good. Very fitting. You got a much better fitting version than I did. Mine still needs to be altered a little bit.
That's the only thing you see in that photo?
Pretty much. Is there something I'm missing?
This is, by the way, for the people who are watching this on audio, they're really getting the most out of this bit. Ron, what's the number on the back of my jersey? What's the number?
49. A very seemingly random number to have on the back of your jersey.
What's the number on the back of your jersey?
Oh, I have 51. Again, just a very random number choice.
Why did I not get 51 for the champion? Why am I getting 49?
You'd have to really take that up with Fans Idea. I may hold some stock in the company, but I don't really know a lot of the intricacies about what goes on inside of it.
Are they part of the RBP LLC Merch Incorporated stock fund?
They there may be some connections there between RBP Merch LLC and this company. It still looks good. Look how slim, very, very slim and trim it looks on here.
Yeah, my issue is the fact that it says 49%.
Well, like I said, when I got my 51%, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And I think maybe deep down inside, you are buckling under the pressure of being champion.
Listen, Ron, when I became champion in February of 2023, I knew that a new dawn had arrived, and I knew that I could not stay a resident of Queens, New York. I knew that I could not continue to do this thing that people call renting. I needed to own. I needed my name on a deed. I needed my name on a mortgage. I needed the banking industry to understand just what kind of power that I'm bringing to the table. Speaking of which, I don't know if I should be saying this, but My mortgage company never verified my employment.
I mean, that's on them.
I
That is
funded it.
on them.
I have a job, so I didn't lie whatsoever. I
Now,
told the truth.
speaking of being champion, did you unpack the title belt?
It is in a box somewhere.
Wow. Not important enough to unpack for this episode.
Ron, there were over 70 boxes that came over from the west side of Manhattan, and we have gotten through just over a third of them. It has not been identified yet. I have said to the lady that if the championship belt was thrown out, as she claimed she was going to do for the better part of the past year, I will be throwing her out the window.
I mean, I would think the box would have very clearly written on it title belt.
I told her, put that in a box all by itself, wrap it in, and just fill
right.
the box with bubble wrap.
Listen, if that's the kind of champion you want to be for the people.
I know. Even I'm admitting right now that I've disappointed them. I've disappointed my loyal subjects. It'll be, mark my words, next week when we do our next episode, it will be here.
Okay, that's good to hear.
I think she threw it.
Oh boy.
Ron,
Yes, I was waiting for you to ask something.
what's bothering you?
So my beef this week, Brian, and let me preface this by saying that I bring this beef to the table not because I'm looking for sympathy, not because I'm looking for empathy. I expect derision and mocking because yes, this is one of the most first world problems that I've brought to the table as my beef of the week. But
Sure.
Brian, I purchased a beverage fridge for our wet bar because when we redid our kitchen a few years back, we put a wine fridge into the wet bar. And a wine fridge is really only good if you drink a lot of wine. Come to
Correct.
find over the years, we don't need like 40 bottles of wine chilling at any given time.
And a wine fridge does not get as cold as a regular refrigerator.
It does not. So you can't even convert it. So I found, so my beef is with a company called New Air. They were selling refurbished beverage fridges on eBay, which I said, all right. I'm like, I can take a refurbished one because it's like a third of the cost, and you can return it if it's not what you want. So, and they said there may be some wear and tear on the sides, but cosmetically it looks good. Like, and that's the key. I said, all right, cosmetically, because it sits inside a cabinet, just the front has to look good.
Sure.
So I order it. It comes in a few days. I bring it out of the box, and there is visible denting on the door and like the front grill.
So the stuff that is outward facing.
Exactly. The stuff that you're just going to see consistently.
Yeah.
So, I messaged them via eBay and I took some pictures and I'm like, hey, this arrived. It's got some damage to it. What can we do here? And so they write back and they're like, well, we can send you a replacement door, but they're out of stock. But we'd like to offer you 15% off your order. And I'm like, I don't necessarily need 15% off my order. I can wait for a door. How long would the door take? And can I get that front grill too? So I write that back. And then I get an email back. Sorry for the inconvenience. Can you send us pictures of what your issue is? So I write back, I sent you pictures and you responded already. I'm just looking for the answers to these questions. And I send it back. Then I get a message back, literally just the letter V. I'm like, what? So I write back.
This is awesome.
I write back and I say, should there have been more to that response? And then like a day goes by and I don't hear anything. So then they write back again. Sorry to hear about your inconvenience. Can you send us photos of the issues you're having?
Just generic response, auto reply.
So I say, fine, here are the issues. Here's the photos again. I'm like, can we, are you able to resolve this or should I just return this to you?
Sure.
So they write me back. They're like, well, tell you what, we can give you a refund. All you'll need to do is just cut the power cord off of it and then send us a photo of, said cut power cord, and then we'll refund you the money. And I write back and I'm like, then I have to deal with like paying to dispose of this 100-pound
Sure.
beverage fridge. Like I just can't put it out in the trash.
And what's to say you're going to get that they're going to send you your money back?
Right, exactly.
Because
So
then you've just paid full price for a dented. Well, you are going to get the 15% off, I'm assuming. Now, then you just got a big paperweight, which is not the first paperweight that you've electronic paperweight in your kitchen.
very true.
We all
Very,
remember
very
your
true.
sous vide machine.
Also true, yes. So I then go into my eBay listing and then I initiate a return. So in the meantime, I get a message back from customer service. We'll just take a photo of the manufacturer sticker and serial number on the back, and we'll send you a self-serve return label. But then I get a message from somebody else about the return. They're like, "Hey, we can replace the front grill and give you 15% off your order if you want to keep it." So I ran back and, well, now I'm confused. Like,
Sure.
if you can get me the door and the grill, I'll keep the damn thing. Like, but just
Sure.
tell me which one way or the other. So now I'm waiting for that response. And Janelle's asking, did I read? I did read the seller reviews first, which overall the reviews were very positive, and the people that had issues said, "Oh, customer service was great." This has not been my experience. And again, it is a relatively minor thing. Is if that's the worst thing that happened. Yes, just the letter V. If that's the worst thing that happened in my week, then I guess I'm okay.
All right. So let me get this straight. So your sous vide machine bricked because somebody
Done for.
somebody got rid of the. Did you go out and buy a new sous vide machine or no?
I don't, because I did have another sous vide machine. This one was just more convenient to use.
So do you have? So can you show us a photo of the damage? Because you said earlier you did take photos.
Hold on a second. You know,
Come on.
Well, you gotta give me some heads up here. Let me see here.
Oh, this one's not your fault. I gave you no advance warning, but I was just wondering if you do have photos. I think this will be a true test, just to see how much of a petty consumer you are. I will say this, Ron. The idea of going on eBay and buying from a company I've never heard of, I don't know that I would have necessarily taken a shot on a refurbished machine from a web store on eBay.
Well, I've heard of the company before. Like, that's not the situation. Like, they sell these units. So see, now
have you purchased anything by them before?
I have not, but I'm familiar with the brand. I can't pull these pictures up easily. I'll show.
Don't worry about it, Ron.
You'll just
you know what to do. Put it on our social media. Put it on the Instagram. Let's see if what the people think. Ron, have you been using Threads this week?
I have not. You know, I think the initial buzz of Threads seems to have worn off.
Yes, I already read that they lost about a third of the number of people that initially signed. I'm trying to get rid of Twitter. I think I'm trying to unload the Twitter app.
Don't you mean
Excuse me. X. X gonna give it to you. He gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to you.
I was reading an article the other day. Apparently, when Elon Musk was CEO of PayPal, he tried to rename PayPal X as well. And
he's had a thing for that name. Yeah. He wants to name something X. He named his kid X. No,
Brian looks like he's in an interrogation room. That is true. Like, if we brought the light down a little closer to you, we could play a little good cop, bad cop.
I feel like I'm giving off 1980s Beirut Jewish hostage vibe.
It feels like you should be holding up like a Wall Street Journal with today's date in front of your face.
That's the energy I'm going for. Yes, absolutely.
All right, Brian, should we get into our stories of the week? We always pick a couple stories that we want to make sure we don't forget to cover. So let's not make any wasted time. Let's get to them. Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
Ron, you know me. You know I love the animals. I'm all about animals. I'm all about animals living their best life. Ron, Are you familiar with Hugh the manatee?
I was not until you shared this story, but I believe we have a picture of Hugh.
Can you please put up a
There he
photo
is.
of Hugh?
Hold on.
Humanity. Get it? Humanity. Oh,
Oh,
look
look
at
at that
him.
picture.
He is
Everybody
so
loves
adorable.
manatees. Everybody loves manatees.
They are so stupid looking. That whole this is just nothing but styrofoam. You can just mush it. It's like cotton candy. All right. So humanity. He is, excuse me, this is what we call foreshadowing in the business. Humanity was in the a Florida aquarium down in Sarasota. It's the Moat Marine Laboratory and Aquarium. I'm sure that loyal friend of the show, Johanna, has been to the Moat Marine Laboratory and Aquarium in Sarasota, Florida. She probably has helped treat Hugh the manatee. He died this past April at the age of
Oh,
38.
it's kind of young for manatees, I
Um,
believe. Why did he pass away so young?
Thanks for asking, Ron. I appreciate you. You're going
Anytime.
to get the assist on this one. Well, the Florida Aquarium is attributing his death to high intensity sex with his brother.
Yeesh.
That's right. The staff noticed that he was exhibiting a change in behavior in late April, and they began monitoring him closely. He then became unresponsive and ultimately was determined to have died. When they performed a necro- necropsy, ooh, I am butchering this freaking
Keep
word.
trying.
Necro, necro, necropsy. I'm saying necropsy. How would you pronounce this?
I don't know. I'm enjoying listening to you pronounce it. Anyway, continue, please.
I'm upset now. I'm just hooked on it. Necropsy. Necro,
Necro-
necropsy. We're just going to go
necropsy.
with necropsy. So they performed a necropsy on Hugh after he passed away, and it was revealed that he died from a 14.5 centimeter rip in his colon that was caused
Ooh.
by a sexual encounter with another male manatee, Buffett. Buffett Manatee, who is also his biological brother. A fecal sample collected from Hugh after the encounter confirmed the presence of fresh blood, and officials noticed that the manatees had engaged in sexual behavior, which had continued throughout the day. Then, at around 5:15 on April 29th, Buffett was seen penetrating Hugh. When he swam away, witnesses noticed Hugh was at the bottom of the pool and unresponsive. It was later confirmed that he had died. So I think we should all have a moment of silence for Hugh the manatee, who, despite being in a supervised environment at the Sarasota Aquarium, he is going to be remembered for the first time. Such heightened mating behavior was witnessed between two male manatees.
He was a real one.
Ron,
He was a
oh
real one.
yes, he was a real one.
I
So
thought we were doing a
here,
moment of
listen.
silence. Sorry.
Nah, I just got nervous. Love is love.
It's
Here,
very true. Necropsy.
necropsy. I had it right. Are
Necropsy.
you saying necropsy? I had it right the whole time,
All right.
or did I? Did I not have it right the whole time?
Doesn't seem that way.
No. Ron, what's your story of
Yes.
the week?
So my story of the week, it's a common man, Brian, with an uncommon ailment. This is a Los Angeles truck driver, identified only as Tank. He is speaking out about his unusual sex life because, Brian, he suffers from dipthalia, a genetic abnormality. Abnormality? Why are we? It's a genetic condition, let's say, in which a male is born with two penises. And he is
What?
saying that several of his lovers enjoy the fact that he has multiple penises. This is apparently an incredibly rare condition, affects less than 1,000 men across the U.S. In a recent interview, Tank revealed that he was sent to a juvenile detention center after being convicted of manslaughter at the age of 12. Interesting start there. He was a virgin until his release from custody at the age of 24, and then got out and started hooking up with women who initially did not believe him when they said he had 2 dicks, but then he would eventually show them the case. It says, quote, when I was penetrating a woman, I would get a feeling, but one of my penises is like at the side and feels like it's going to blow up, he explains. He said that some women enjoy the feeling of both of his penises inside them at the same time, including one lover who became hooked on the sensation.
Oh my God. Have you Googled, have you GIS'd diphtheria?
I have not. I don't know.
All right, Ron. I'm going to just do yourself a favor.
Right.
Go to jump over to Google, type in the word diphtheria, Diphalia. Scroll down a few times, and you will be horrified. So he is saying that he's got 2 penises, and that his female lovers have come to truly enjoy this.
That's what he. Ooh. Well, now.
Hey now.
But apparently he has since had surgery to reduce himself to just 1 penis.
Why would he have the surgery?
Apparently, not every woman was pleased, and apparently it was difficult to have sex with 2 penises.
Really? But he seemed like he liked it.
I guess it was good. It's one of those things that was good for a time, and then
Right.
you mature, you get older, and you want different things, Brian.
You know what? Would you have surgery right now to go from 1 to 2?
I don't think I would. I think I'm good with just the single. What about yourself?
I'm happy where I'm at. William says he will not be looking that up. And I'm starting to think that Johanna did look it up.
I mean, do any of our viewers or listeners out there have any experience with a man with 2 penises? Oh, Chanel said she nailed it. And she swam with them.
Ooh,
very
wow.
interesting.
Very.
Very interesting.
I always said
All right,
that
Brian.
woman has got some stories.
Yes. Brian, we lost some huge names over the past week. First up, singing legend, I like to think of as a legend, Sinead O'Connor, leaving us way too soon.
Yes.
I have not heard, has there been a cause of death released? I mean, I think everyone kind of assumed it was suicide, but I don't know.
Well, I think people are either assuming, thank you. People are either assuming that it's suicide or a drug overdose. They are saying that they found the woman unresponsive in her home, that there is no concern about foul play. I mean, her son had recently committed suicide. I think it was about 18 months ago.
About that, yes.
And what people had, close family, friends, and those who had followed her on social media said that it had it just dramatically taken a negative impact on her life, almost to the point where she could not really move on. And I know that sounds harsh when your child commits suicide, but it literally became just something that just it just took over. It took over her thoughts.
Well, and she was someone who was very open with her struggles against depression and with her mental illness, and I can't imagine that helped. Great voice. One of the people will remember from our era, her ripping up the picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live, which she was vilified for, which she said she did because of the cover up of sexual abuse in the church. And well, sure enough, she was right.
Yeah. Which is interesting because that is actually the second most devastating things to her career. The number one devastating career was that she ordered a beer refrigerator off of eBay, and it came with several dents on it. And people, her close friends said she never could get over that.
When you reach a certain level of celebrity, I guess you expect something better.
Sure. Well, she did buy it refurbished, so she should have known what she was getting.
Now,
but When we were, when she came out, what was that first album that she had? Everything compares to everybody, or something. The Emperor's New Clothes.
Nothing
Um,
compares to you.
that was the song. What was the name of the album? I mean, like she literally became just the face of popular music. The thing was, at least for America, this was, MTV at its peak in terms of power in the music industry, where appearance had become everything. You look
Yeah.
at some of the musicians that had, become famous in the '60s, '70s. I mean, really just ugly people. Um, and and here she was when the visual had literally hit a point where it was defining whether you were going to be an artist or not, that would be embraced by the music industry. And here she came, shaved her head, literally just absolutely said, "I will not be playing by your rules. I will not be held to your standards. I want to be known for my voice and the music that I make." Amazing, beautiful voice.
Yes.
Even when I trashed her music at the time because I was a juvenile kid. But you hear the music now. I listen to Spotify, whatever her best of album is that they had on earlier this week, and it's just one beautiful sounding song after another. And to think that she pretty much was like the most popular female artist at the time, and then decided that she was going to use her popularity, and the eyeballs that were on her to speak about social ills, which is not something that corporate MTV wanted to deal with, not something that the music industry wants. They don't want to hear horror stories.
Right.
Um,
Not
and
back in
her
the 90s.
career, no, not at all. All they wanted was somebody to go on TRL and promote their next song. Um, before Carson Daly came out, and that was not her. She was no nonsense. She was all about the message, not the appearance. Um, and you know what? Hopefully, she's not in pain anymore.
Right. And then also passing away that we found out yesterday, Paul Reubens, best known for his character Pee Wee Herman, passing away after a private 6-month battle with cancer at the age of 70. This one stung. Like I was
Sure.
a huge Pee Wee Herman fan. Back when Pee Wee's Big Adventure came out. Pee Wee Herman show. I mean, you look at the lineup of future stars that was on the Pee Wee Herman show, from Lawrence Fishburne to Phil Hartman, just
Hmm.
among others. Just a great show, great movie, and the tributes that are coming out. Like apparently, he was also, from what it seems like, one of the nicest people on the planet. Like
Sure. Sure.
just everyone from celebrities to regular people are talking about what a kind, caring individual he was.
Off
I was
camera.
reading,
Off camera. That's the
yeah,
stuff it was the fact that he was doing this off camera.
right,
You see so many Hollywood celebrities where no matter anytime they partake in any type of good gesture, there's the paparazzi right there. And all the things, his help with getting other people careers, showing up to the set of other shows just to provide support, for other people that were filming, making films or whatnot. You're not hearing many negative stories about him right now.
no. I was reading a story that someone was tweeting about how years ago they were in a custody battle over his daughter with his future ex-wife, and he wrote a letter to Paul Reubens explaining about how he and his daughter would spend their time together watching the Pee Wee Herman show because they both liked it, and he didn't know if he would ever get custody, and he ends up winning custody, and Paul Reubens actually called him, or found his phone number, called him, and had he and his daughter come to the set of the show and
Hmm.
hang out and whatnot, and just apparent. But he did like that all the time. And he had controversy back in, was this the early 2000s or late 90s, when he was arrested for indecent exposure at a movie theater.
I think it was the late '90s because I think it was around the Clinton time when the uh, Republicans were really just kind of out of control.
Yeah. So he was, he whipped it out at a movie theater, got arrested for it. But it's so funny to think about that, because 30 years from now, I mean, that would be pretty status quo for a lot of people these days.
Sure, but I think it's still what the part about that case that I didn't really make sense to me was here Janelle just said that was 1991. Um, there were adult stores that you could go visit to purchase
Right.
pornography. There, at least in New York, they had already run out most of the adult movie theaters in Times Square. So just the idea that he felt that it would have been a good idea for him to drive to a adult movie theater and sit in one of the rows to relieve himself. Um, I found that very bewildering that he would
Yeah.
risk his career to go. It's one thing if you want to it's hard here. Listen, you know what? I'm going to stop what I'm saying right now. Kevin Spacey's out there getting underage kids drunk and
Right.
molesting them. So I'm
Right.
sitting here telling Pee Wee that he shouldn't have gone into an adult movie theater. That's bullshit. I take back my entire last line of conversation. He should do
I mean,
whatever he wants.
I don't know that I don't necessarily agree with the concept of a victimless crime, but his was fairly close to that.
Well, the police officer is the victim, and if the police
But
officer had to see him masturbating in public. What was up
another
also? What do you know? Hold on, before you move on. What
yeah.
was the he was charged with possession of child porn at one point.
Was he? I don't recall that.
Yes, it was one of the stories that I looked up in I think it was 2002. He in
Well, I wasn't
2002.
about to move on. I was about to share another very touching story that I read about Paul Reubens. Is that apparently someone had written to him about a dented beverage fridge they had received off of eBay, and Paul Reubens not only purchased a replacement door and front grill, but came to that person's house and replaced the door and grill for them. And if that really just doesn't speak volumes as the kind of man he was. But
Yeah.
again, Pee-wee's Big Adventure was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. And
Sure.
it's one of those, it's one of those, how did Rich Eisen refer to it on a show the other day? You have a movie or a show that's a remote drop. Like if you come across it on
Sure.
TV, you're going to drop the remote, you're going to watch it. And I would say Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of those movies for me.
Agree with that.
Because
Well, think of it right off the bat. Anybody says Large Marge sent you,
right,
everybody gets the reference.
Right.
You sit there and say the basement of the Alamo. Anybody our age is immediately going to understand the reference.
Right.
I know you are, but what am I? Just right off. I mean, just the idea that this seemingly innocent movie had played such an amazing permanent place in our memories. You just sit there and say Large Mars to anybody between the ages of 40 and 55, and they all know immediately what you're talking about.
And really, when you talk about his years as Pee Wee Herman, I mean, that just kind of scratches the surface of his overall career, because after his legal troubles, he kind of stepped away from Pee Wee Herman and, did a bunch of other acting roles that he was always it was interesting because you would have thought he would have been kind of typecast in that type role, but
Sure.
he did manage to, I mean, yes, he did tend to play the outcast, or if he was a
Sure.
bad guy, kind of the creepy guy, but he was a tremendous actor on top of it all.
But that was the thing, was the fact that, I mean, I remember after the movie theater incident, he really he got blacklisted.
Yeah.
You couldn't find him anywhere. And then when Johnny Depp's movie Blow came out, and you were sitting there watching the story of George Young,
Could be.
I believe I'm right on that one. Boston kid moves to California in the mid 60s and becomes one of the largest marijuana dealers on the West Coast, who then elevates him to bringing in cocaine directly from Pablo Escobar. I mean, just one of my favorite movies, really just an incredible story. But you're, an hour into the movie, talking about just what a great, actor Johnny Depp is. Then out of nowhere, you see this actor who is playing a effeminate, Hollywood hairdresser, and suddenly you realize that it's the guy who played Pee Wee Herman. And by that point, I don't even know that I had the name Paul Reubens memorized in my brain, but it was just like
Yeah.
I literally was watching that movie with. I mean, he was in it for a couple scenes, and I'm like, dude, looks familiar. I don't remember where I see him.
Yeah.
I know that guy is it. And then out of nowhere, boom, you realize, holy shit, it's Pee Wee Herman in a dramatic role, and he is pulling it off.
Yeah, Matt's saying Blow is one of his favorite movies too. Shocker. Good point from Billy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, was his first big comeback role, which I remember that. And again, he was funny in that too. That was before Christy Swanson went all MAGA on us.
First off, I didn't even know she was MAGA. Christy Swanson went MAGA?
Oh yeah.
I had no idea. Also, you watched the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I mean, it's kind of a cult classic at this point.
Oh my gosh. What are you talking about?
Listen, you live in New Jersey.
What are you talking about? You live in fucking Philadelphia.
That's right. I don't. Oh, apparently not. You tell me I don't live in Philadelphia. You tell me I live.
You
outside
live
of
in the suburb. You live in the cushy Orthodox Jewish confines of northeast Philadelphia suburbs.
You live in a town that wants to be New York so bad it's got New York in the name of the city.
Ron, when I sent you a video, did I not yesterday?
You did, yes, a very bougie video.
I played that for somebody. I played that for somebody in the office and all they came up with was just like, "You're such an asshole." I made a video for Ron and his wife yesterday of me walking out my front door in my building, leaving just a wonderful message of how much I care about Ron and his wife and the affection that I have for them. And then at one point, literally a minute into the video, like not far, a minute into it, I turn, do a 180, and you got bam, the Manhattan skyline and the Hudson River right behind me.
Right.
It's okay to be a little jealous, Ron.
All right. I'm okay. I'll get through this.
You sure?
Now this next person did not die, but everybody had their fingers crossed. Mitch McConnell froze up during I guess I don't know if it was a press conference or where
it was a press.
speaking.
Yeah. He was giving a press conference. I think it was somewhere in the U.S. Congress building. I'm not sure whether there were any January 6th protesters that were storming the room at the time, but it clearly was the same place where he has given many press conferences. And he literally was just in the mid. He was about to start speaking, and his mouth didn't open, and he just his eyes fixated forward. If you notice, he didn't blink at all.
No.
At no point was he blinking. I think a lot of, obviously none of us are medical professionals, except I believe Johanna is considered a medical professional. Oh, hold on a second. She goes, Johanna says, "Oh, burn."
I mean, Mitch McConnell is technically a turtle, so I think she could actually speak to his medical condition.
But I think the theory right now is the fact that he had a stroke.
That is what everyone is saying. I mean, he's 81 years old. He has had apparently a number of falls, both at home and at work. He suffered a concussion earlier this year. I mean, at what point do you just say? And here's the thing: Mitch McConnell has more. He and his wife have more money than you and I could spend in our current lifetimes.
Sure.
Just fucking retire and try to enjoy the rest of your miserable little life.
It's what do you call it? It's about power.
Oh, I know. No, I that part I get.
He's now so addicted to the power that he can't. He's not going to give it up.
It's just ridiculous.
It's all right. It's not the end of the world.
We didn't even kind of touch on the new Trump indictment that came down earlier today.
Is there anything to talk about? Is there anything truly to talk about? I mean, no matter how you want to look at it, January 6th was 2.5 years ago. The election was approaching 3 years ago. Suddenly, all these charges are coming in. Why it's taken so long? Because you're charging a man with crimes that took place during November, December of 2000. Mind-boggling to me. And the worst part is the fact that because it's taken so long, you've provided the right with a narrative that these charges are not genuine. These are trumped-up charges to interfere with the upcoming presidential election next year. I mean, had these charges come out in 2021, okay, now we are, now it's
Now it's
clearly in
timely.
response to his
It's
action.
near the time of the crime, right?
What took over 2 years to get your shit together to say, hey, we believe a crime was committed. Grand juries don't take this long.
Well, I
So
think part
that's
of
one
it
of the things
is
that I'm frustrated about.
right. Part of it is spelled out in the indictment. Is one of the things that Trump is accused of is witness tampering, which hindered and also hindering the January 6th committee. So it is kind of included in the indictment why it took so long to be able to bring charges, because of the criminal activity that took place to cover up the criminal activity.
Sure.
But again, to your point, we'll see. I mean, there's 30% of this country that will defend him regardless, and
Sure.
80% of Republicans that say, these charges are political, regardless of. I mean, it's a 45-page indictment that was released, and it was, it spells out in detail the laws that were
Yep.
broken and how so.
But you're also believing every word that's in that indictment, whereas
Yeah.
the right is sitting there saying that these are all made up lies, that there's no factual basis for any of the commentary. This is literally just they have. I mean, this is the mastery of Trump. He is basically spinning the charges against him and saying that the the behavior that he exhibited allegedly, he's now basically saying that this is what the Biden administration is doing. This is what the prosecutor Jack Smith is doing.
Jack Smith, deranged
All
Jack
right, nailed
Smith,
it.
if you ask Trump.
Yeah, so him sitting there saying like, they are using their administration and the poll to interfere with an election. That's exactly what they're saying he did. So it is it's hard to be at a point now where you can sit there and say I believe anything, which I think is one of the things that he's wanted to create in terms of environments.
So Ali comments, I thought they didn't want to rush the investigation because they wanted to gather as much and clear evidence as possible, that when they did indict, they didn't want holes. Ali, your problem here is you're coming at this with a rational, logical train of thought. You can't. What I would like for you to do is and be careful, because you can overdo it. Go in, maybe huff some spray paint, some bleach, and then think about
go over to Kensington. Go to Kensington, buy some trank, buy some trank,
rub some cat tranquilizer on your gums, and then really think about whether this indictment seems fair or not.
The thing is that you are not going to convince one current Trump supporter that he's done anything wrong. And
no.
I've had conversations with Trump supporters. A lot of them feel 100% that these charges are completely baseless. And I have more respect for those people than the other group of Trump supporters who are openly admitting, yeah, he may have committed some crimes, but I still want him to be president. I still back him. And there's nothing that a prosecutor can say or evidence that is put in front of me that is going to get me to change my mind.
Right.
That is what we are in America up against. And it's not just Trump fans, but it is just this complete lack of critical thinking being done by the individual. It is like it's this very tight knit group thing on both extremes, where it is no, there can only be this one perspective, Everything has to fit within this worldview. And if it doesn't, I will just flat out reject it as ignorance, lies, and hate it. And that is where, when you get into a court of law and you've got a jury of 12 people who are going to be determining an outcome of a trial, that's what scares the daylights out of me, is that nobody's going to be sitting there saying, oh, there's no holes in this story. They're just going to sit there and say, everything is a hoax. Exactly, Janelle. Everything's a hoax. I don't believe it. This is lies. And nobody's going to go into that trial with an open ear. Oh, no offense. Also, how the fuck do you find 12 people who are going to be open-minded to a Donald Trump trial?
Right. I mean, it's going to be a mix of people that are anti-Trump that are going to lie to get on the jury, and there's going to be people that are pro-Trump that lie to try and get on the jury.
At which point you're going to end up with a hung jury.
Right. So it's going to be interesting.
I saw a movie once when I was in college. It was called Hung Jury. It was the story of a Southern belle who went to the big city and was being tried. Yeah, she was being tried for a capital crime. I believe it was vehicular manslaughter. And ironically, it was an all-male jury. It was 12 men on, they were all the jurors, which I thought was quite odd because there was a lot of commingling in the courtroom between the judge and the jurors, the prosecutor, all the lawyers, and the defendant in this, the main character. I'm going to cut you a little short
on the description of that movie there. I think I know which one you're talking about. We maybe can put a pin in that and discuss that later, because we don't want to run out of time before we get to one of our most popular segments. But the drag queens are the problem. Brian,
they are the problem.
We get letters, we get emails, we get so much
can't handle
positive feedback about this segment. And Brian, we have finally done it. We have finally found a story going back years showing how drag queens are a danger to the children of this country.
Yep.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. This is actually 83-year-old former church pastor, David Zanstra. He was arrested July 17th in Cobb County, Georgia, where investigators say he confessed to killing 8-year-old Gretchen Harrington nearly 5 decades ago when he was a pastor in Marple Township, Pennsylvania. She apparently was walking to Bible camp nearly 50 years ago, where she was abducted, potentially sexually assaulted, and then murdered.
A true monster. Yeah. And the drag queens are vilified for wanting to read books in the schools. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure that's the only story of a white male in power who is charged with a crime against children that are clearly drag queens, right?
Well, I don't know if you would call this a person in power, but this individual, his name is Marty Wagner. He once served as chair of the Alliance for a Pro-Life Alabama. It's a group that mobilized voters to support a fetal personhood ballot measure back in 2018. He most recently served as an official in the Alabama State Department of Education, which shocked I was to learn that Alabama even had a Department of Education, but he was fired last week after being indicted on child sexual abuse charges. He is accused of sexually abusing a child under the age of 12. An unnamed source familiar with the case said that the child victim in question is actually under 10 years of age.
Piece of shit human being. Yes. Oh, I hope he gets his balls fried. But somehow drag queens are the problem. Who want to come in, sing a Diana Ross song, do a twirl, and then read a book. And somehow they're the problem.
So Wagner was released from jail on $60,000 bond. He now faces up to 20 years in prison, as sexual abuse of a child under 12 is a Class B felony in the state of Alabama.
Question, Ron. You left out on both those stories. What is the right doing against church pastors and Alabama Department of Education officials? What are they doing? Because clearly, drag queens wanting to read a book caused the right to go out
Right, right,
strong
right.
against drag queens. So clearly, I'm sure they're busy mobilizing right now against church pastors and Department of Education officials in Alabama. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what are the Republican efforts to put an end to those two groups?
So the main effort seems to be behind investigating Hunter Biden.
What's the connection there? I don't really understand.
Absolutely none whatsoever.
Sounds like the Republican Party's still going strong. Good luck to them. We really support them in all their gestures. Speaking of support, Ron, something very special is going to be taking place in less than 30 minutes. Can you guess what it is?
I'm going to say it's probably our After Dark exclusively for Patreon subscribers. If you subscribe at the bronze level or higher, that's $10 a month or more, you get to join our live After Dark, which tonight is our monthly pajama party. That's right. Our Patreon subscribers get to join us on air, and we will be having another enthralling edition of Can You Beat Brian? I've got a great trivia game lined up. No one, including Brian, knows the topic of tonight's game. And if anyone can beat Brian, $25 will go to that person's charity of their choice.
Ron, did we have a big announcement we were going to be making during the show, or are we going to be making it during Patreon and then announcing during the week on the regular social media?
I think we announce it now because I think, as the repercussions start to vibrate through social media, I think we'll probably need to address some of this with our Patreon subscribers in just 28 minutes. Do you want to make the announcement, or would you like me to?
As the champ, as the 51% owner of the podcast, I will be making this announcement.
Please.
And that announcement is we're recording this show live on the evening of Tuesday, August 1st. And there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions behind the scenes. This will be the only episode of the Ron and Brian podcast that will be recorded during the month of August 2023. That is correct. We have been doing this show once a week, I would say over 5 years.
Over 5 years now, yes.
Without missing a week. We've had episodes where we did best of. We've done some episodes where one of us was recording the show live. I believe, Ron, you did one episode by yourself that was a solid 58.
It's very solid.
The tight 58. I believe I did something closer to, I think I did a looser hour and 40. But because, listen, there, I know
short. I heard from people that hour 40 seemed like 4 hours.
All right, that was good. I didn't see that one coming. But yeah, we are going to be taking the month of August off. It has, a lot of people are going to be pointing to the fact that I moved to New Jersey and say that Ron refuses to do a show until I return to the great state of New York. Some people are going to sit there and say that, Ron was able to handle being 49% owner for 6 months and kind of hit a wall. And now he just can't summon up the energy to do the show if he's not going to be the champion. I've heard some rumors online that there is a power struggle going on between you and I, that there are some machinations having to do with some of the bylaws of our Constitution for the RBP LLC Merch Incorporated. I can't. My lawyers have said to me, Brian, do not, under any circumstances, go into detail as to why you are not going to be doing or participating in a Ron and Brian podcast show. So, Ron, do you have anything you would like to say?
I mean, I've heard the rumors too. I've heard that, perhaps you are upset that I did not buy the appropriate items off of your move-in register that you did at Bloomingdale's. I have heard, you could only stare at my naturally dark 52-year-old hair so long before it finally ate away at you. I heard that you need to determine some other tattoos to get. There's lots of things being kicked around out there, but it is just, consider this like a season finale, like a cliffhanger.
Sure.
A summer hiatus, if you will.
I heard that you are going to be redoing your office, that your wife has decided to knock down some of the walls that separate her office from yours, and she's going to make it one large lady cave after seeing the movie Barbie. She now determines that she wants to have, she will be taking your office over again. You will once again be relegated to the dining room table. That's a rumor I've heard.
I have heard that your lady is checking out the various closets and linen closets in your new apartment and seeing which would more appropriately hold your recording space for your podcast.
Interesting. I heard, Ron, that you are going to be traveling to the Dominican Republic and finally getting your BBL procedure done that you've been talking about for years.
I have heard that your lady is waiting for an additional 30 boxes of dishes to be delivered. And until that time, she won't be able to wash them during the podcast.
I heard, Ron, that you were recently let go from your job and your wife announced that you'll be spending the rest of the summer digging up a gigantic hole in your backyard, which will be filled with water, turned to mud, and she will call that your backyard pool.
Sounds like someone doesn't want an invite to the new pool.
I desperately want an invite.
All right. Well, we will be back Sunday, September 3rd. Mark it on your calendars. That will be our triumphant return to both the podcast and the Patreon. But make no mistake, we still have After Dark starting in about 23 minutes. So if you are a Patreon subscriber, please make sure you join us for another rousing rendition of Can You Beat Brian? If you are not, just go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner to become a patron, and you can join us tonight. Otherwise, you've got to wait an entire month until that happens.
Exactly. But listen, we're about to do an after party. We're about to do After Dark. It's going to be a pajama party. After that will be the after party. I'm excited. 23 minutes. I have a couple boxes I'm going to go unpack, and I'll be ready at 9:30 Eastern time. People, if you have not signed up for our Patreon, Ron, put that link once again, scrolling across the screen. It's our After Dark. Join our Patreon. Listen, it's just a couple bucks a month. Oh, also, I do want to say that nobody will be able to defeat me today. I have no idea what the subject is. I will probably defeat.
We will see. We will see how it goes. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy this remaining month of Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
And we will see you in a month.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next